Welcome everybody. Episode 5, Heatwave podcast. Today is a very exciting day. It's the the pregame for HCS regional finals. NA regional finals. So I'm joined by my guests, headline HCS and Relent. How you guys doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk about what's gonna happen. To be honest, because I've got some opinions. I've got some interesting takes on what might happen. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, same. Doing good. Excited to talk about some Halo and talk about the events coming up and moving forward from that.
Awesome. Okay, so just to give like a little bit of background information on the event uh that we're leading into on Friday. So it's the second LAN event of the HCS season, running February 11th through the 13th. 16 teams will be competing for a total for their cut of a prize pool of $125,000 plus pro points depending on their placements. How we got here. So we have 8 teams that qualified via their placements at Rally, the first LAN event of the HCS season. And then those teams are joined by 8 teams who qualified last weekend in the open online qualifier. Segueing into those teams, so the top 8 teams from that event, the teams that qualified through the winners bracket are G1, Complexity, and Xset, and Oxygen Esports. I'm gonna start with you, Ed. Would you any surprises there, or is this business as usual?
Um, I think mostly businesses. The main surprise for me is that Complexity got through in winners bracket because normally they make it to like quite late in the winners bracket and then they drop down and then go through losers. But yeah, other than that, I don't really see too much change. Not in the top four at least. With the teams that qualified through the losers bracket, then it gets a bit interesting. But the top four is pretty much similar. But yeah,
Posey, what about you?
Yeah, yeah, same. I think I was happy that Complexity made it through winners. I think some of the teams that are not signed, by an org yet. Like I'm not like I know the names of the teams, but like the players that are on each one of them, I would get mixed up. So I think a lot of the teams that made it through, I think it was a big toss up. I think one of the teams has Huss on it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And he's like, I think a lot of them are just like newcomers to the scene. So for them to kind of like switch over and kind of push that far to make it to this, regional event, I think is a pretty, set standard for themselves moving forward.
Yeah, so you're speaking on it. We also had the 4 teams that qualified, ended up falling down into the losers bracket or the lower bracket. So those teams were Fnatic, Incognito, Push and P, and We Love Anime. Push and P is kind of the spiritual successor of Unsigned Talent, right? Or the spiritual Unsigned Talent roster that we saw. So we'll probably end up referring to them a lot. I think even in the actual HCS announcement, are they known as Unsigned Talent? Or
I know they were.
is it still
I'm pretty
Push and
sure they
P?
were early in the bracket on Face It. They were down as unsigned talent, but I think they went to Push and P a bit later on in the bracket.
Yeah. Okay, so any surprises by those 4 teams? I think me and you, Ed, we were talking last episode. I think we definitely had Fnatic. I think we had so that we had the Push and P in there as well, sneaking through. And then I think the only one that would have been a surprise for us is probably that incognito roster.
Yeah, only because I wasn't really clued up on that roster. Um, Obviously I knew about Unsigned Talent and We Love Anime because they've been in the Pro Series a couple of times, but that Incognito team kind of caught me off guard, and they're kind of they took the place of where Built by Gamers should have been, in my opinion. Um, Obviously they fell short, which was quite unfortunate for that team because they've got a lot of talent and they normally get through to the Pro Series. So it was just strange not seeing them in the top 8. But I'm I'm happy that there's 3 unsigned teams that have got through. But yeah, I don't think they'll be unsigned for long, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I think they beat Built by Gamers, right? I think going into this
think so.
tournament, if I was like reading correctly, I think Built by Gamers was the #1 seed too.
Yeah.
And they beat them to qualify. So huge shout out to those guys. That must have been an insane feeling to, you know, you come down to like you have one match left to make it through, but it's against the #1 seed, and to be able to like clutch that. I think they also had some like really close series even like before they fell to the losers bracket, which is cool to see. I could be remembering wrong, but I think they had they ended up losing. I don't remember the exact series score, but I think they had a close series against Oxygen too, which is like great to see because we know that's a very established squad. Okay, so let's work our way to pool play, which will be starting Friday. We did hear from HCS that every match of this tournament is going to be streamed, which would be cool. So we'll have plenty of Halo content, plenty of stuff to look over. Okay, so Pool A is going to be Cloud9, Sentinels, Oxygen Esports, we love anime. I'll start with you, Relent. What do you think when you first see this pool?
I think it's a really tough pool. Cloud9 and Sentinels are, obviously are going to be your two dominants in that one. Um, I think it's going to be a battle for possibly third place, essentially. But in the same sense, depending on how much practice and with everybody being on the same connection, same LAN, you know, a lot could change. But I just see a really tough pool in that, like for anybody in there outside of Cloud9 and Sentinels, and I think it's honestly going to be a toss up between Cloud9 and Sentinels for first place. Like I know Cloud9's definitely been dominant online, but Sentinels hasn't had Royal 2, and I feel like Royal 2 like makes a bit of a difference for the Sentinels team.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
about you,
no,
Ed?
I fully agree. I think out of the four pools, in my opinion, this is arguably the strongest pool, just because Cloud9 against Sentinels is going to be a really fun game to watch, and I almost feel bad for We Love Anime because they might be going into this already a bit on edge because they've got to play these like established teams that have got a long history and they've won together before. Um, but yeah, I think they're just the strongest pool by far. What do you think though?
Yeah, so when I first look at that, I think Relent, you know, stated it really well that it's so top heavy. Cloud9 Sentinels is just, you know, it almost doesn't matter who else is in that group. Um because those teams are just so dominant, and this is our first tournament that we're going to actually get to see the Sentinels roster, right? Royal 2's back. This is his first LAN. How are we thinking he's gonna perform on his first land back with the team?
Um,
I think it'll be a pretty. I think it'll be a pretty average performance. I don't think it'll be anything too amazing. He might have one or two good maps. Um, But other than that, I think it'll be a solid performance. I don't think he'll be out of shape or anything like that. But yeah, I think they'll just get the work done. I don't think he'll be focused on outshining his other teammates.
yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I don't, but then again, I don't know. Like with him, like they've still been steadily practicing, running scrims with Royal 2. Like Formal was just kind of filling in for the like the online stuff. Um, so I mean, I feel like he still kept up to par with stuff. But yeah, I mean, I just feel like I feel like he'll have a couple rusty games. Given that he didn't get to go to Raleigh, so this will be his first lane event for Halo Infinite. So,
Yeah.
but he's up.
So just focusing on group play right now. Is there any chance that Sentinels come out as the #1 seed after group play?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. I think they honestly, I think it's a bit of a coin toss, to be honest. Like, I feel like they match match well with Cloud9. It just depends on what Renegade and Seller show up at the event, and what Frosty and Lethal show up, because I feel like those two on the Sentinels team, Frosty and Lethal, kind of not necessarily Frosty, but Lethal, like he's kind of, I feel like he's kind of not been up to par given his past Halo events, like past Halos. I feel like if he comes in and shows out, like, and plays extremely well, um, I feel like they can easily compete with Cloud9 for the top spot.
Yeah. What about you, Ed? Any chance?
I think it'll be a close series between the two of them, but
Yeah.
I've got Cloud9 taking the edge. Just I feel like it's like a 60% chance that Cloud9 will take first, but there's still quite a high chance that Sentinels can take that first place off them. But
Yeah.
I think either way it'll be a close game. I hope it's a close game so we can kind of get to see how they match up. I hope it's not a quick 3-0 because that'd be unfortunate. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I don't really know I'm guessing that the way the initial matchups go is probably like Cloud9 play, since they're the number 1 seed in this bracket, they play probably the number 4 seed. So I bring that up because I'm really hoping that before these two match up, that they at least get another match in before, so they can both get a little bit warmed up. Especially because this is the first tournament where on land where they're all 4 of these Sentinels players are going to be playing together, so that'll be cool. But yeah, I'm really excited. What I'm waiting to find out is if this Sentinels roster is, I mean, we could find out if they're the best in the game. I'm not thinking that they are, but I want to see if they're at least a regular top 3, or maybe even like a dominant top 2 play, where it's just them and Cloud9. But I think we'll get into our predictions later, but I think this is still Cloud9's tournament to lose. So I don't want to skip over this at all, because I think we got to give every team like their shine a little bit. Let's start at the bottom. We Love Anime. What should their expectations be going into a group like this? What do you think, Ed?
I think they should look to try and steal maps off Cloud9 and Sentinels. I think that would be a big confidence boost, especially if they play them first. I think that would give them a lot of momentum going forward. Then they could maybe go toe to toe with Oxygen. It'd be nice for them to win that, I think. But yeah, I think just trying to take the Cloud9 and Sentinel series as far as possible would be the best option for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they can go in and take a couple games off of Cloud9 or Sentinels, or long shot potentially upset one of those teams. I think if they can come out of pool play with like a 1-3 record, I guess it'd be. They're going to play a total of 3 games or 4 games.
Yeah, so I think it'd be a 1. I mean, I think 3. You play 3 total. So yeah, 1.
Yeah.
You're saying like a 1-2.
Yeah, 1-2. I think if they can come out of pool play with taking a game from somebody in their pool, I think would be very beneficial to their mental to move into the champion bracket.
Yeah.
That's kind of my
Yeah, and I think in some pool plays, it really doesn't matter if you're getting 3rd or 4th. Usually that means a lot of times 3rd and 4th are getting eliminated, right? But I think in this, it could make a big difference, and it could make a big difference to your end position, right? The team that you're playing, if you have to go up against the best team in another bracket, or the second best team in another bracket. Okay, so let's show a little love to Oxygen Esports. I guess same question, like what if you're Oxygen Esports, what are you trying to accomplish in this bracket?
I think definitely look to beat We Love Anime. I think that's just standard for them. And then maybe even look to upset Cloud9 or Sentinels. They've definitely got the firepower for it. It's just who's shooting straighter and who's making the decisions better in a shorter amount of time. But yeah, I think they should look to maybe try and finish it 2-1. Would be nice for them coming out of their pool, especially considering it's Cloud9 and Sentinels. I think taking the series from them would be really beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think and from what I've heard around the community of these teams, like they've had some good matchups and good scrims and good sentinels. So I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like if you know, I feel like Ed said, if they can come out of it with like a 2-1 situation or record, going in a champ bracket, like I think that's them moving in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think really, they're in a tough spot. They might be in the toughest spot in this bracket because they basically have one match that they absolutely have no business losing. So they have that pressure. And then they have two matches that honestly, like, they up to, just based on past results, they have no business winning.
Yeah.
But I think where they should really focus, I think both this Cloud9 teams and the Sentinels team are going to be looking past their other matchups because they're going to be both focusing on when they match up against each other. And I think that's when you have to, that's what they need to look for and honestly hope for it. Just that,
Yeah.
this team, I think their best bet is to take advantage of a Sentinels that's maybe not, maybe they're not all shooting together yet. Their teamwork's not on 100% because they haven't been really playing together, where this Oxygen team is the complete opposite. Like, this team has been together a long time. I mean, as has the Sentinels, but they haven't had any of these weird team breaks where, one of their players is getting subbed out and all that stuff. So that's what I would look for them. Okay, so we can call that a wrap on Pool A. If Group A is our group of death, I think Group B is the funnest group to watch. And Ed, am I correct on that, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think for me, that Pool B is all about seeing where each other match up against like one another because they're all FaZe have been finishing top 3, so I'd look for them to come out first. But in terms of Space Station, G1, and Fnatic, I'd like to think they're all kind of similar level ish. I think Space Station should be shooting higher than where G1 and Fnatic are at the moment, but in my eyes, I see them all as almost on a level playing field. So I think either one of those three could play second in that pool.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like Pool B is going to be one of those pools that all the games are going to be really close. Even if somebody comes out of this pool 0-3, like I feel like it's going to be like their record's not going to speak for how close these games was. Like Ed said, I feel like this is like one of the most balanced pools that's probably in the whole pool, altogether. Um, and yeah, like I feel like Fnatic and G1 both can potentially take games off of Space Station and even or FaZe. So I
Yeah.
definitely think FaZe is the favorite to win, and I feel like they're the strongest team in that pool for sure. I think Space Station, honestly, I feel like Space Station is going to drop the ball, and potentially, I feel like they're going to be the letdown of that pool and come out 1-2.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, there's a bunch of storylines. Like, I really think like this is the pool I'm most excited to watch. If I'm really the big storyline for me is I just don't I haven't seen enough from Space Station to really believe in their performance. I don't think they're a guaranteed. I don't think any of these teams are a guaranteed second. But I also, on the other hand, I kind of feel like Space Station was also gifted with these other two teams because I think some of the other, or actually like the two brackets that we're gonna, every other bracket has, I think, a stronger, at least third seeded team than theirs. I think G1 has not, like, they look really good in their last the last online qualifier, but they've looked shaky. And then we have Fnatic, who really has had their ups and downs. Like, we've been talking about them for a while. They were Team War. They looked really good. They got picked up by Fnatic. They have had some good series, but they've also had some like pretty big letdowns. They haven't failed to like qualify for pro series, but they haven't done much to do well in those online tournaments. But again, this is LAN, so we'll see. But I guess the big question for this one is which. So I'll start with you, Ed. Who's coming in second? Because I think we're all in agreement. We don't need to go around the table and say phase first, phase first. Who's second in this group?
I kind of want to hear your opinion on this first, to be honest, because I've got mixed opinions. I think it could be either one of the three. So I want to hear what you got to say.
So, man, I was gonna wait to get your guys' opinions, and then piggyback off of that. No, it's so tough for me because every time I think about these teams, I just like there's different times they've like let me down.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna, I'm still gonna believe in them one more time. I'm gonna go with Space Station. I still think that that we haven't seen their best form yet, and I think they have the pieces, And I think here's what I'll say too is I think it's really between them and Fnatic. I don't really see I would love for G1 to come in second, but I don't really like see that right now. But so for me, I'll say Space Station.
Yeah,
Do you
I
want to
feel
go next,
like
Roland?
I'll go next. So for me, I feel like honestly, I'm gonna go out on a limb and like just make a wild guess. Like not necessarily a wild guess, but like for some reason, like I just feel like G1. I do feel totally opposite. Like I feel like is gonna come second, and because Ali is formerly known as Commonly, and he did go on land with snipe down the Emmy team that won a gold medal at the Olympics. So I
At
just feel like
at the X Games. But you are
at
correct,
the X
sir.
Games. Yeah. So I feel like he just brings a lot of pressure talent for a LAN event like this, especially given that there's only 16 teams. So it's like there's not much room for error to,
Yeah.
it's going to be very disappointing for any of these teams to show up and get a top 16 placement at a top 16 team, tournament.
Yeah.
So but I just feel like he kind of carried him through this event, through to the to get to this point, and I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like moving forward, like I think all of these players are going to play a tremendously a lot better on land, and I just Fnatic, like you said, like you guys, like we stated earlier, like they just kind of had their ups and downs. I don't think they quite got it figured out yet. Um, and Space Station, they've just been so inconsistent for me. Like I just don't. I don't have a lot of hope in
Yeah.
inside
You don't
there.
want to get your heart broken again.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it. All right. What about you, Ed?
Um, I kind of want to say, just based off what you guys have said and just my own opinion, I think it's gonna stay exactly the way it's set out now. So I think Space Station will take second, then G1, then Fnatic. I think Space Station, they've been inconsistent, but I've got a feeling that like because they're inconsistent, they're gonna have a really not a really good pool, but I think they're gonna do pretty well in the pools.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I think they won't do too well in later on, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, I see Fnatic almost more of the same. I feel like they'll go into it with like confidence, but I feel like they almost start to break down towards the end of series, and I
Yeah.
think we'll see that especially against teams like FaZe, like Space Station. And then yeah, I think G1 might be able to take that game over Fnatic and place third. But yeah,
So what do you think it is about Fnatic, right? Because I think they're all a team like I really enjoy that org. I've like loved watching those players playing like Halo 5. Like what is it that you guys see that why is this team struggling?
Um, I just feel like it's like with the dynamic of the game, like it's just like I think like a lot of these other teams, like Complexity, they've been a solid core team for since before Raleigh. Exit same way they haven't made a roster change. Oxygen hasn't either. G1's made a few roster changes, but it's not that much. And then the other ones, like they've kind of like bounced around, and like I just think it's them finding their mojo and kind of working together. And
Yeah.
I think that's where it's like these other teams, like when they get into these pressure situations, like they can rely on certain people to step up and kind of finish out the game, finish out that last leg of the run. Whereas with Fanatics, like they're all talented, or otherwise they wouldn't be picked up by Fnatic. So obviously the skills there. It's just them meshing it, and putting it together and making it all come into one, one solidified recipe.
Definitely.
yeah, I agree with that. I think maybe they just haven't hit their stride yet.
Yeah.
I was initially thinking that maybe when they got picked up by Fnatic, they kind of took their foot off the gas a bit because they've been picked up by a partner team. But I don't know. I don't want to pin it down to that because obviously I don't really see what happens when they're not on stream. So
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So I guess the consensus is we haven't seen this team's limit yet. They're still
Yeah.
there's no we're not writing them off yet.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen this team's like potential at all. Like I think they're just getting started. They're
Yeah.
just on a really steep, hill moving up. So, at the moment. So
Yeah. No, and they've got a tall task in front of them with this group. All right, so moving over to Pool C, we have Optic Gaming, G2 Esports, Complexity, and Incognito. I think this one as well. This could be a really cool group. I think I'm more excited for our next group than I am for this one. I'll start with you, Relent. When you hear me read those team names, what are you thinking about this group?
to me personally, I feel like this group reads an upset all over it. Um, just for the fact that um, you know, we can all agree that Optic didn't play well at their last LAN. Didn't place at all what we thought they were going to. So moving forward, and then and even on some of these online tournaments, like they've gotten knocked out by teams like in this pool. So it's like, for some reason, like they scrim well, and like they are even hit for tat with Cloud9 and some of these scrims that they've been going with.
Yeah.
But when it comes to tournaments, like they lose something, and I don't know what that is. But I just, to me, Pool C is the upset pool. Like I feel like this is one of the pools that G2 Complexity or Incognito can like kind of walk away with it and come out first place and give themselves kind of a head start moving forward. I think G2 and Complexity are gonna have a battle for that top 3 spot. G2 actually knocked Optic out of one of the pro series, or I think it was a pro series. They knocked them, took the series away from them and put them in losers. Um, so giving that, like I feel like I just, to me it's just a toss up. I feel like all these teams are starting to click together. Like G2 had a roster change right after Raleigh and kind of on a downhill there, and then now they've figured out their roster and like they've been clicking on all 4 cylinders. I think Complexity is starting to get everything situated and figured out too. Incognito, like I really don't know much about these people, but like these guys, but I feel like they made it to the invitational event for a reason, so I'm excited to see what they put out and put forth.
Yeah. Ed, I have a different question for you. So
okay.
is it what Optic Gaming are we gonna see at this tournament? Are we gonna see the one that was almost unbeatable leading into Rally, the one that everybody had pegged to win, or are we gonna see sort of an underperforming Optic that you can't really quite put your finger on what's wrong, but the pieces are there, but something's up. What do you think?
I think it's gonna be a shaky tournament for them. I don't think they'll find like a lot of consistency. Um, I still think they'll place first in this pool, but I don't see them doing it with ease. Just because, for some reason, when they like recently, when they've been coming to like almost crunch time, they just haven't been able to get over the line, and I'm not sure what it is. Um, but yeah, I think the real the real uh the real interest in this pool is that fight for second. I feel like Complexity recently have almost had a fire lit underneath them. They're finally almost reaching their true potential. And also Incognito, they grinded through the losers bracket to qualify for this, so they're going to be hungry. And G2 have also been a bit wobbly, but yeah, I don't think we'll see the optic we saw towards the start of the season. But I do still have them as number one through this pool.
Yeah, I can't. I still, yeah. As much as I mean, it would be nice to see. I think with another second, I think we can all agree with another second seed in there. If G2 hadn't been looking so shaky recently, you could definitely call for an upset. And I think there's obviously still potential, but I don't really see it. I think the funny storyline out of this is like the only team that's really exceeded our expectations is this incognito roster, who managed to take down the number one seed to qualify for this event. I pick Optic Gaming first. That second spot. So to touch on complexity, we are going into this qualifier, and we were super excited to see this team, and we're like, I think me and you were even talking about it, Ed. We were like, oh, they're all going to be playing, from the same location, so we'll get our best read on this team. And then it ends up that two of them are playing on location while the other two are still playing, from their own houses. So we didn't even get to see that synergy that maybe they've been lacking at times. So I'm really excited to see this team. I know they have a lot of resources behind them, and I know they have to be hungry. We've seen that switch get flipped in them. I don't know if they can take down G2. G2's actually I can't say they've been playing like incredible, but they've been impressing me with that Tusk pickup. I was really skeptical, but it's actually turned out better than I thought it would. I still don't see them as like a very strong team, but I don't know if I don't know. You know what? Just for the sake of it, I'll pick Optic to win the group, and then complexity to beat him. Do you think? I'll start with you, Relent. Do you think Incognito has any business of taking like a series off one of these teams?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I think, I feel like, from what we've seen online, I feel like Optic Gaming kind of, is everybody's forerunner to win this pool. And I think the other three in this pool, like, I think they're all evenly matched. So I feel like I don't feel like this is gonna be like one of those ones where, like, we love anime and pool A is like, has no business taking a game away from Cloud9 or Sentinels. Like, I feel like in this one, or Oxygen, I feel like Incognito is like, I mean, I think skill wise and like their overall teamwork and everything, I think they're right up there to compete with Complexity and G2, to be honest. I just kind of like you, I said, like, depending on what optic that we get at this event, like, kind of like it's going to be up to them. That's why I feel like this is going to be a big toss up pool and an upset pool for me.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, do you got any closing thoughts on Pool C?
I was just gonna say quickly. I think that Incognito team. Some part of me wants to say that they're gonna beat G2. It's a bit of a
Oh,
win, but I feel like they might.
yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah, I could see them, I definitely see them having some close series. I don't think G2 or I don't mean Optic either. I don't think any of these teams can really like they need to show up for those series against Incognito for sure. I will say this is Incognito. The one thing that gives me some pause is this is Incognito's, at least as that I'm aware. And I can't go individually, but as a team, this is their first LAN, together. So that is something to keep in mind. At least we won't have the crowd, we won't have any of that pressure, but still a different environment. Still can have some nerves, especially against some of these more established teams. Let's call that the upset group. Pool group D, I think, is the scrappy group. I think if you look at even all four of these rosters, I don't think any of them jump out. But man, all these teams can like put up a fight against any team in this tournament. So we have United, Kansas City Pioneers, Xset, and Push and P. I'll start with you, Ed. What do you think about this group?
I think it's almost difficult to predict. I think it comes down to almost who wants it most. Because E United, at least recently, we haven't been seeing their best performances. But Pioneers have been almost, I don't want to say out their ceiling because I still think they can go a little bit higher, but they've been performing really well. So I think it's almost E United trying to fight away the amateur teams. That's how I see it. But I think any one of these four can take a map off each other. Like I really see it as probably the second most even after Pool B.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
what about you, Relent?
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think for me, I think United still is like one of the more dominant teams in this pool. And just like their overall presence on land, like they play really well together, and like so I mean, but Exit is like they've like constantly improved since they've formed this team and like since Riley. So I mean, I feel like I mean, yeah, I'm kind of with that on this one. Like I feel like all these teams can potentially like. I feel like this is kind of a it's like you said, it's going to be a bloodbath to see who walks away with the best record and the worst record.
Yeah, definitely. The groups like seeing a group like this makes me glad that they're gonna be streaming like every single match because I don't want to miss any of these games. I think they're all gonna be incredible. Um, I think what I'm most interested in is to see who Xset it really is. Are they are they the team that we thought they were going into Rally? This team that has potential to be a top 8 team, um, and then comes out doesn't have the best performance at Rally. I think they might have. I don't even know if they might have finished top 16, but definitely I think they shot under what our expectations were. Then they come out and they do pretty well. I think they placed fourth in one of the Pro Series events. They did have two roster changes. I think they picked up Arctic and Suppressed, and they've been looking really, really good. And I'm just excited to see how they perform. And I guess the same for for Pioneers as well. I think this team's like been amazing, and it's cool to see them if they'll continue this trajectory upwards and how far they can go with it. I know this is probably one of your favorite teams, Ed. What are you thinking about Pioneers going into this tournament?
Um, I'm not biased towards them in any way. I do really like the team. But I could see them possibly placing first. I think compared to like E United's recent results, Pioneers have almost been like knocking at the door. So I'm really excited to see that series, to see like the matchup and just to see where E United have come since Raleigh, because obviously they got second. But I feel like they're kind of falling down the order a little bit. So it'll be really nice to see how Pioneers stack up against them. But to be honest, I'm interested in unsigned talent as well because I feel like this is their main. Well, this is like their not their one shot, but their first shot at almost showcasing what they have, and they've almost been in the shadows for a while. So it'd be good to see how they get out there and how they play.
Yeah. So, sorry, let me get back to it. Um, yeah, I'm really excited to see how they're gonna play. I'm wondering how I'm really wondering about this like E United team. Like you said, we haven't seen a second place team that we saw at Rally. Like we haven't seen that team. We've seen like flashes of brilliance, and I've probably been their biggest critic on here as far as I don't think this team quite has it. So maybe they'll prove me wrong here. But I think you're right. I think that we could see this is probably the best case, but maybe pool A, but this is the best case scenario as far as if you're a um second seeded team. I think that this group has the best chance of like having a different winner than the first seeded team.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this Push and P roster. We've talked about them as far as the spiritual unsigned talent. Have you got to watch much of their gameplay, Ed? And if you have, like, what are you thinking about this team?
I've seen them here and now, and I've been trying to tune in with scrims and stuff. They just look coordinated. I'd say out of the three unsigned teams that we have currently, I'd say they're the most coordinated. Feels like the roster was kind of thrown together quite quickly, but they're almost using that to their advantage, and they're kind of running with it and running on this kind of like this new goal. Like they're all together and they all want it, and I think they kind of want to use this event to get signed in a way. Um, so yeah, I think they're gonna just go out there and give it all they've got because at the end of the day, they've got nothing to lose really. So I think it all depends how much they want it.
Definitely. What about you, Relent?
Yeah, I've watched I watched their scrims the other day, and like, I mean, they're just really good. Like, I think out of the 3 unsigned teams that we have, like, I think they're the best. Us is like probably like one of my favorite players on the team to watch. Like, his overall communication, like, and his skill at the game is just like it's up there. Aperture is really good. I don't know much about Hot Shot or Filthy G. But just, but I know, I mean, I think they're good. Just kind of to backpack on Ed too. Like, I just feel like, yeah, I mean, I feel like they, I think all 3 of these teams, have earned to get an org and everything. I think depending on how I even if they don't perform how they want to, I feel like just the fact that they made it to a 16 team invitational, um, and really, I mean, really, you can even put it into more perspective. Like, it was an 8 team invitational because the other 8 teams were guaranteed to go. They didn't have to do anything. So I mean, I feel like that speaks numbers for these 3 unsigned teams, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah, I mean, right now this tournament, these top 16s, this is the best 16 teams in North America as far as I'm concerned. And I know
Yeah.
you could say, we had a couple teams like Built by Gamers who had more consistency, but you're only as good as your like last tournament. And I don't take anything away from that team. I think if you run that open bracket again, we get a couple different teams, so not knocking them, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the best 16 teams in NA, and I agree. It would be nice to see this team signed. I think another thing. Oh, go ahead.
I,
Relent.
I was just going to ask you guys a question, kind of get your thoughts on it. Like, and this is kind of off topic a little bit, but not really. Like, with Anaheim, do you feel like they should have done like a more teams? Do you think it should have been 32 teams, or even 8 more teams added to this, 24 or something?
Yeah, I'll let you go. You go first, Ed.
I mean, definitely, I think they could have at least increased it by another 1 team each. But yeah, it's just how it happens, and they had to. I guess they had to do it. Maybe they weren't allowed any more teams than this. But yeah, if I was running the tournament and it was possible, I'd definitely include at least, I want to say, 8 more teams, two to each pool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just how it goes sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of wondering. I'm in agreement. Like I think as a Halo fan or as anybody in the scene, there's nobody that's like, no, 16 was good. But so I think 24 would probably been like the sweet spot. You kind of could have kept, like, you could have added what, like 2 extra pools. It would have been,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been too much.
Yeah.
Because I think the results on LAN, I think everybody can agree results on LAN matter more. And I don't like the fact that these teams, I would have liked to see even these teams that couldn't quite qualify into that top 8, like, I would have liked to see if they could beat these teams that seeded higher than them on land, because I think that would, that would say something more than just like an online tournament where we have all these, we have all these variables that we've talked about in the past. One thing I will say, and one, we're always guessing because we don't have all the, there's not a ton of communication, so I don't even know if the venue that they're playing at is the same. So so maybe, I mean, maybe it is, but I mean, it was a convention before, right? It was supposed to be DreamHack Anaheim,
Yeah.
and then DreamHack pulled out for COVID reasons, and then HCS is like, oh, we're still gonna run it, and then last minute it's like, oh, it's just gonna be 16 teams. So I wouldn't be surprised if after Anaheim, if they just pivoted and they're just, the new studio or wherever they're running it at can only fit this amount of teams, because they're also not letting any press in there, which is just, it's so crazy. Like, we can get to it a little bit later, but there's been like 5 or 6 like incredible behind the scene documentaries from Rally, and we're gonna get, unless Halo does that in-house, we're gonna get 0 of those after this event. Yeah, so it's definitely disappointing. I know we got a little bit off track, but yeah, and to sum it up, I think we can all agree, like, it would have been like a lot nicer to have more teams.
Yeah, I agree.
the last thing I did want to say for this XSET push and P, so if I'm remembering correct, I think that unsigned talent roster, you know, this push and P roster, or at least some of them, they're the team that actually beat XSET at Rally. And I think,
Oh, really?
yeah, and I think Filthy G is now playing. I think he was on that XSET roster, and now he's playing. He's playing for unsigned talent or push and P. So I'm looking for, you
Yeah.
know, and then they kind of switch players because XSET has Suppress now, who is also part of that unsigned talent. So I'm kind of looking, maybe this is a grudge match. I might be making all this drama up, but I'm gonna stick with it. This is a grudge match. These two teams hate each other, and this has a lot of implications, and there's gonna be a lot of blood. So I'm excited to see it. All right, anything else to close out this group, guys? You guys wanna why don't we just do a quick first and second seed coming out? Ed, I'll go with you first.
First Pioneers, second United. That's what I'm gonna say.
All right, Berlin, what are you thinking?
Going first, Pioneers, and second, I'm going Exit.
Oh, I like it. So I'm gonna stick with the trend. I'm gonna go Pioneers first, and then I think I'm still gonna pick. I'll pick E United second. Part of me wants to say Exit. No, I'll go Pioneers and then E United second.
Yeah, I think it all depends on which Spartan we get. To be honest,
Yeah,
I see him as the core of that team.
Dude,
almost.
man, yeah, that his some of his stats are just like absolutely incredible.
You know, a lot of people look at Spartan as like their main slayer, but like I think you guys should really pay attention to Rain. Like I
Oh,
think, you know, Spartan gets a lot of the clout and which he well deserves. You know, I'm not trying to knock him at all. Like, you know, I think he's a cool guy. I think he deserves it. Like he's phenomenal, you know. But I think Rain is also up there and like I think without Rain, a lot of this stuff. Like I think he's like the lunchbox of this team. Like he does a lot of stuff that nobody pays attention to or gives him credit
yeah,
for.
sort of the unsung hero.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see it because honestly, I'm one of the biggest like people that's sleeping on Rain because when this roster was announced, I was like, I mean, it was just in Halo 5. Every time it seemed like he got dropped, they would replace him with like, I mean, it was an incredible Slayer, but that team would just get better. And so I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, like not like he's bad, but you know, maybe there's different pieces, but I'll have to look for that. I mean, it's definitely like a harder thing to notice during the game, right? Like
Yeah.
I just want to look for like these giant kill numbers and, you know, but I definitely understand that there's probably more to it.
Yeah.
All right, finishing up with that pool. So we're gonna get into just some like more of a random topics, and we've kind of touched on this already, but I wanted to touch on this before we actually got into like more predictions. So I guess we could do all three. So there's 3 teams right now. There's 4 teams that qualified through the losers bracket, but 3 of these teams, like we've been talking about them like all week since the qualifiers. So we've got Push and P, Incognito, and We Love Anime. So I wanted to ask which of these teams, and you can give an order if you want, which of these teams is going the farthest in this tournament? Relent, let's go with you first.
I feel like honestly, I feel like me personally, like in this order, Push and P will go like they'll go the furthest. Um, and then I'm gonna say Incognito, and then We Love Anime, and those two I'm kind of like it's kind of like a toss up for me. Just because I feel like both of those teams are like in comparison, like very well balanced for each other, like to comparing them. So like it's hard for me to tell, like especially not knowing how, you know. But yeah, I'd say Push and P, Incognito, and We Love Anime, and Incognito and We Love Anime is kind of like a neck and neck race.
Yeah. All right, Ed. Ed, what are you thinking? How are you feeling on this?
Me personally, I'm not too sure how to feel about it, but in my opinion, I think Incognito are gonna go furthest. Um, Not by too far, but I feel like coming off of the qualifiers, they've grinded to get in the qualifiers, and I think they're gonna be hungry to kind of shine the most out of these teams. that have made it through qualifiers almost show everyone what they've got. Yeah, I've got Incognito furthest, then Push and P, then We Love Anime. No disrespect to any of those teams. I think they're all amazing. Obviously, they're top 16 teams. But yeah, I just think that's how it go.
Yeah. So, man, they came through for me, you know. So I'm very torn about this decision. My heart wants to say We Love Anime, but my head's saying is got to go with Push and P. I think they're the most dominant roster, but I did want to make a case for each team. So the way I'm looking at it, I'm like Push and P. I think they have the most consistency out of these three teams. With Incognito, this team had the most difficult route, I think, through the qualifier, right? They took down BBG. That's a huge series to win and under like an immense amount of pressure. So I think they've got that going for them. And then I think with We Love Anime, that name is just so much power. No, I'm kidding. With them, there's some Halo, you know, I think they might have the most experience as far as like lands and stuff go. They've got Bomex and they've also have Rami on their team, who they had some really good placements in Halo 5. So I think they have the long-term experience, right? They've been here before. I don't know the rest of these guys' careers. I don't know where they've been. I don't think they have quite the resume that, you know, some of the players on this We Love Anime team do. So I think there's a case that you can make for any of these teams. But yeah, I think for me it's got to be the Push and P roster. All right, so another interesting thing that I noticed was, so 9 out of 16 of these teams are either playing with a new roster, like as far as, you know, subbing a player or two out, or this is their first LAN as a team, right? And that's, you know, I'm talking about Halo Infinite. I'm not talking about like other games. I didn't include Sentinels on this because I think that's kind of, you know, they've played so many other tournaments with each other that I don't think. Yeah. But I want to get your opinion. Do you think the other, you know, 7 teams, is that an advantage for them, or can we just like chalk that up to kind of like nothing really? What do you think, Ed?
I think there's definitely somewhat of an advantage. How much of an advantage it is a different question. But I think most successful teams often thrive on experience together. So I mean, teams that have either not played together, that's going to be quite a big shock, especially I'd say maybe the unsigned teams. Just because it's their first LAN as like a unit, so it's gonna take a lot of getting used to. But yeah, I think it's definitely an advantage, but I couldn't put my finger on how much of an advantage it is.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, go ahead, Ren.
I feel like it's definitely I'd say it's a significant, you know, advantage. And just because it's like, you know, you're building that chemistry. Like if you look at like the Bulls that won their championships, like for the most part, their core teams that won, like it was Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, you know, Dennis Rodman, and you know, a couple other support players in there. But for the most part, it was those three, you know, 3 out of the 5 people that was starting, they were there, you know, for their 6 championships or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or for the majority of them, I won't say 6. I'm not 100% sure on that one. So I feel like it's just a chemistry thing. Like, you know, I think that's where like the Sentinels team, like it kind of showed when they was at Raleigh, where they added Formal to the mix. Like Formal's, you know, I think all of us can agree Formal's like really solid FPS player. Like, and the fact that he was able to jump in and kind of fill in for them and they made it top 4, I think speaks for his individual skill, because I feel like if they had Royal, I feel like Royal 2, I feel like they easily get top 2.
Yeah.
Or maybe even win that event.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they've been the team for so long. So I feel like that they have that chemistry, like they kind of know how each player is going to react to certain situations, and more tilting situations, like when the game crashes, or everybody knows the state of the game now, where it's it's very unstable at some points, and on land, there's not so much of that, but there's still going to be situations where people are going to think they get a kill or melee and that it doesn't register or whatever. And, you know, in certain situations, if one player gets tilted, like, and without that chemistry, like, you can't overlook that. Like, that whole kind of breaks down the whole mentality of the game. So I feel like that's where it takes an advantage at.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I thought it was more of an. Honestly, I didn't really think too deeply about it. I was like, I just thought it was super interesting. I'm like, I don't know if like if this is like kind of a normal thing, especially with so many like established orgs, like so many like roster changes. I haven't really like tracked them in the past, but I thought that was like super fascinating. I could see it being like somewhat of an advantage. I don't know. Like to me, I think I agree with what you're saying because it'd be like if Hoot came in and tomorrow had to play on one of these teams, like that team's still probably doing, maybe they're a
Yeah.
couple spots lower, but dude, that's still an amazing squad. It maybe even makes them better, right? Just because they
Yeah.
have like these players, if they're just bringing that individual like high skill ceiling, like they can elevate any roster or at least maintain that roster. Um, I'd say the thing for me is I haven't really had the experience of like playing this game online versus LAN. So it depend. I could see that kind of shaking some of these players up if they're just getting used to it for the first time. They're like, finally, my shots are all like registering. Like, I don't even know how to play like this.
Yeah.
I can see something like that affecting them, but yeah, so maybe a slight advantage to those other teams that have already been playing. But yeah, I wouldn't say I don't think it's like too much. So going over our three favorite teams of this event, Incognito and I love two of our three favorite teams from this event, Incognito and I Love Anime, have both been. There's been kind of rumors, kind of leakage for them being tied to orgs. You want to fill us in on anything you've been hearing, Ed?
Well, yeah, it was basically released today that, well, the rumor is from Dexerto. They said, UIU is definitely looking at that Incognito team to pick up before Anaheim. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that's a great decision for them. And I'm happy for the players of Incognito because they definitely deserve it. But yeah, I think it just shows that having an open bracket for like to qualify really does benefit like the unsigned teams. And yeah, the Wheel of Anime roster, I'm not 100% sure of which org or whatever. I know Bomex posted like
The classic,
the
yeah,
classic gif of
signing signing
the
signing the
the signed
contract.
contract.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure what that could be, but I mean, I'm just happy that they're finally getting some attention on them. So yeah.
Yeah. Any comment on that, Relent?
No, not really. I mean, I think they did a good job clarifying. So I feel
Yeah.
like, I mean, I personally haven't seen or heard anything, so I really don't have much to say on it.
Yeah. I think.
One
I'll go for it.
no, one thing I did want to ask you guys, and it's kind of like a hypothetical question, is like, do you guys feel like Fnatic maybe jumped the gun on signing a team like too early? Like, do you guys think they're like looking back like, damn, I should have waited until after Anaheim? Because like, in my opinion, I mean, this Fnatic team is solid, and I think they're well deserved where they're at. But I mean, me thinking about it as being an org owner, like I wouldn't be upset having one of these other teams like Pushing P or
Y-
We Love Anime.
Yeah. I'll let Ed answer because I think I've literally said like pretty much answered this question before. Like I'll say it again, but I'll let Ed go first. Because I already like know my piece.
Yeah, I think where Fnatic went wrong was not having a team already before the season even started. You hear a lot of the partner teams already had their team kind of sorted, and they were just waiting for the contracts. I think that's where they first went wrong. But about whether they signed the wrong team or they jumped the gun, I think I think the Fnatic roster is really really talented, and I think either them or say the Push and P roster or the Incognito roster or the Wheel of Anime roster, each of them could have been signed. I think right now they're all on a similar level, in my opinion at least. But Yeah, I think they did kind of jump the gun. I think maybe they could have waited until the teams definitely qualified. But yeah, it's just I don't really know what to say about it other than that. I think they it's a bit of both. I think they made the right decision by getting a roster early. Well, obviously they should have got it way earlier, but um yeah, it's kind of a bit of both. I don't really know.
Yeah.
Before you
Oh, go
answer,
for it.
Dosh,
Yeah.
I just want to throw this twist in there. Like, so with that, if the Fnatic team goes to Anaheim where they haven't performed well, making it to the Pro Series, and then if they don't perform well at Anaheim, do they look at signing a different team and letting them go, or what do you guys think goes from there?
I mean, so I'll answer the first question and then I'll get to their performance. So I'll just keep my like short and sweet. I've said it on a past episode, they should have signed the original unsigned talent. I think I was kind of the polar opposite. I thought these teams that were signing rosters like way ahead of Halo Infinite releasing, I thought they were completely mistaken. I'm like, we don't know how these teams are gonna perform, but they've come out looking like amazing. Like all those, even though we like kind of talk about Optic maybe not performing the best, like they're still like you can't say they're not a top like 5 team, and that's
Mm-hmm.
you could even argue that there's not they're top 4 easy. So I think that they should have probably signed. I think when the time came for them to sign, um, and they ended up picking up that Team War, I don't think that was necessarily bad. I would have liked to see whoever that coach was, and I don't really believe that it was like all his choice, but I would have liked to see some team building at that point. So I'm pretty sure as a coach, like you can scout like the players that are, performing well. I would have liked him to approach like a player or two and be like, hey, if you could have any of these other unsigned, people, like who do you want? Like, and let's build a new team because like this Team War roster is great, but maybe with all these pieces, right? Like it's like taking
Yeah.
these last 3 teams that qualified and building one. Like, could we take parts from each of them and build one team? Like maybe not, but I think that's an interesting thing. And obviously, like hindsight's 2020, we've seen this Fnatic team not really performing quite well enough. The second question you had, I it's a tough call because they've already like invested money into this team, and so I don't think they can really pull the rug out from under this team. I think maybe you can, again, if there's some pieces that aren't working, maybe you can talk about, shuffling them out. But like for a whole team, I don't think so. But I think you can
Yeah.
definitely make some moves for sure. I think that
Yeah.
would be that would be fine. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, I think similar. I think getting rid of like just scrapping the whole team is probably a bit harsh. Maybe after Anaheim they see that some teams are like doing okay, but like maybe they try and poach a player from one of those teams. But yeah, I think it'd be a bit too harsh to drop the whole 4, especially after they've invested a lot of like time and money into.
Gotcha.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so I think we've had like a pretty good show. I think we've like pretty much covered everything. I think let's just do our final predictions and then call it an episode. I'll go with you guys. Go. I know Ed. I heard you at the beginning that you got 1 through 16 done. So go ahead. I'm
Yeah.
gonna mail it in with just a top 4
Okay.
while you're doing that. But we'll go with you because I think you're the one that did the most prep on this.
Yeah. Well, a lot of this, well, not I wouldn't say a lot, but some of these are kind of just off gut instinct.
Yeah, I mean, 1 through 16 is tough to be like, to have
Yeah.
a
I mean,
scientific reason for each one of
yeah.
those. So I got you.
The chances are I'm completely wrong. But first I've got Sentinels first. I got Sentinels first, then Cloud9 second. I think it would be a Sentinels Cloud9 final. Then FaZe third, Optic fourth, Pioneers fifth, Space Station sixth, E United seventh. But I think Space Station and E United could kind of go either way. I think either of them could be in sixth or sixth. Sixth. Um, then Xset at eighth, G2 at 9, Oxygen at 10, Complexity at 11, Fnatic at 12, Incognito at 13, E1 at 14, which is kind of that one was I wouldn't say it was a bit random, but I don't know. I just don't get a great vibe off them right now. Pushing P 15th and then We Love Anime. That's my. I did sort of throw it together a little bit, so chances are I'm completely wrong.
No worries, man. At least you put it out there. Do you want to go next, Rolando, or do you want me to go?
You can go ahead. I'll
Okay.
finish it up.
I'm honestly, I'm just gonna do top 4, and it's not because I'm like scared to put out my predictions. I just didn't do it before, and I don't like my 5th through 8th will just be me like looking at a team and just being like, yeah, okay. So, I'm gonna go as well, dude. Do I wanna? No, I don't think I can dethrone. I don't think I can dethrone Cloud9. I like that call, but I don't think I could do it. So I'm gonna go Cloud9. I'm gonna put Sentinel. So I'm gonna put Cloud9 first. I'm gonna put Sentinel second. I'm gonna put Optic third. And then so I want to put FaZe Clan fourth, but one thing which like I'll get the tinfoil hat. I saw that Snipe Down started playing Apex again. And I'm just like, is that gonna affect gameplay? Maybe, maybe not. But I think just the way these other teams have been performing, I think at least for this event, it won't matter too much. So I'll put them fourth. You know what? And then I want to show KCP some love, so I'll put them at 5th. Let's go. All right, I'll just do that'll be my top 5.
For me, I think I'm with Ed on this one. I think Sentinels comes out and wins. And then I think Optic kind of rebounds and gets top 2 or 3. And I think it's a toss up between them and Cloud9. And then I think E United is going to get 4th. And then a top 5. Honestly, top 5. I'm gonna put Complexity making it up there. I think them playing well. I think they're all on land. Hysteria is very good on land. I think they can surprise a lot of people.
Yeah,
I like the boldness of that one.
I'm always here for those.
So
I'll go
before
for
we end, I do got one more question. It's kind of a fun question. If you guys had like to just go out on a limb and say, just a random, like out of the top 16 teams, who would you guys give the best chance to like completely upset the whole tournament and win?
it.
Well, I don't think KCP beating partner teams is an upset anymore, so I don't really want to go for them because.
Oh, so you want to go like more of an upset?
Yeah, like
like
a super upset, like like a Storm Venture, team win the event or something.
Making it in.
I'm gonna say Oxygen. I'll say Oxygen. I think they'll end up beating a good amount of teams. I'll say Oxygen.
I like that pick. Man, that's such a good question. You know what? I kind of want to go with. I'll go with. Damn it, man. Damn it. I can't do. Every time I think of a team, I just talk myself out of it.
It's just for fun, like obviously, like these are some long shots.
Yeah.
It's still a possible, like it's a solid possibility, but
Yeah, I got you. I want to choose a different team, so I'll go with. You know what? I'll go with Complexity. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, I think if all 4 of them are in a LAN environment, then I think they'll definitely flourish. I mean, what was it? 2 of them? 2 of them were together.
Yeah,
for the
Hysteria and Triton, and then like here's my reason behind like my solidified pick and then making it to the top 5 is just because like if they can come out and they can play like they did that one where they made it to the Pro Series where like they were just running through the losers, like if they can play like that consistently through this tournament, like I feel like they're gonna surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I think we talked about in the last episode, like we haven't seen their best yet, and it'll be exciting to see, them firing on all cylinders. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. I did want to say thanks to like all the new viewers, all the old viewers. I think we have over 100 views on our last video, so that's incredible. Thank you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed like our content. I think for our next episode, we'll obviously like we don't have an exact date, but we'll be doing it sometime after the event, obviously. Probably give us some time to process it, go over gameplay, but make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, sharing. And yeah, thank you guys. You guys have anything, any final words?
Nope, I think you hit the nail on the head on that one.
All right. See you guys next episode.